Good afternoon. uh, Today, probably I'll talk about a topic, all right, that is probably um, very close to all of us, all right. Um, Let me share with you my screen. Okay, just a little presentation here to share with all of you. Yeah. Okay. Now, I've entitled this as the crash and how to survive. So basically, I'm referring to the economy of Malaysia, all right, if not the world. Let's be more specific. So we are in Malaysia. We are working here. So let's be realistic, and look at uh, some of the things that we can do. All right. Now, um, if we how your business can survive through this recession, right? As I will be talking in terms of very general, but you can relate it to your business, to the place that you work, anywhere, So this is just some general terms. So I guess by now it has dawned upon all of you that this is not going to be a short-term kind of thing, right? It's going to be a long-term kind of recession, right? So, especially when we talk about post COVID-19 or post MCO, all right, and we will be on a long, downward slope, and we wouldn't know how deep and how long, the extent of the recession. So, um, I guess we have to be prepared for this, So it's going to be a deep and a long recession, right? So some of them were even saying that recovery will, you know, I mean, just for COVID-19, for the scientists and for the research houses, probably they'll take about at least 12 to 18 months before they can come up with a real vaccine, for COVID-19. So I guess it's COVID-19 is going to be here to stay with us for quite some time. So it's not going to be a short-term kind of thing. So um, I myself personally don't expect recovery to happen until probably end of 2021. You know, so even then, we will see a very slow recovery. So nothing will happen overnight. So, and let's begin with an assumption. I wouldn't even say it's an assumption. We will begin to see, things getting worse by end of June. As if you follow some of my earlier YouTubes, it is an estimated by our MIER. They estimated about 1.45 people will be out of job, and around 30 companies, all right, will be closed down. Right, so like most of us, I think most companies or most of entrepreneurs would have actually started looking at cost cutting. Right, so well, I guess if we look at every recession or every a meltdown of economy, right? I guess the key thing that we need to do, or the secret, right, towards surviving, okay, a downturn of economy is basically cash flow. I think it's no secret, right? So it is so for those of you who remember, all right, I'm not too sure how many of you would have survived, the last downfall or recession, all right? But some of the things that we have done, especially in the finance line, all right. I've been in finance before becoming the head of this company, all right, for a number of years, very, very long. So, and there are quite a number of things that we actually can do. But there are really four, if I'm going to look at it, there are four things that you can do, all right, in general. One is reduce and slow down your cash flow, right? Secondly is, so anyway, before we go ahead, with this, let me just go through with you certain, what I call slides, on the pandemic, all right, or COVID-19. Yeah? So if you, despite the, as I've said, despite the pandemic, and we will have this tendency of blaming, COVID-19, for the cause of this economic downfall. But and in fact, they are not wrong. They are not wrong. But in reality, if you look at it, the economy, signs of recession, right? In fact, you look at the assets in the markets, it is already way, way overinflated, even by the third quarter of last year. So, and really, the economy has not been good, right? Especially towards the last quarter of 2019 and getting into 2020, right? Especially on the quarter one. So the real scare, is here now. Now the virus is causing the the economy, or rather, it's causing havoc, right? And the impact of this COVID-19, right? It is really, really here. For those of you who may not have felt it, especially if you are working with the government or you're working with a company that is, for example, companies that produce hand sanitizers or gloves, probably you would not have felt this, because you're still getting your salary, you're still getting, all your perks and this and that, but for companies that are affected, that is not in the non-essential line, like food or services, practically the last 60 days, it has been tough for so many of them out there. So even for our company, there's to say we are really affected. Even though we are considered, we are lucky in the sense that we are fortunate that we can still run, but we are running at 50% strength, right? So let's look at this sequence. If you have been studying the market well enough, or in fact, even if you are from a financial background, or anyone that studies economics, you would have actually seen this. But just let me run through this sequence with you. Whenever there is a loss of business and jobs, all right, it is normally we will attribute it to, so there's a recession. So that is why there are lots of people that is without work, they are jobless, and their business may have to be closed down. And in our case, because of COVID-19, all right, so because of the MCO, because of the scare, all right, so people are expected to stay home, or rather they're required to stay home, and they cannot come out. So there will be less buying, right? And yeah, of course, the real MCO came, the movement control order came into, right? There will even be more, less buying, all right? So, and you add the scare and the movement control order together, people say, you better save, you better save more, and you don't spend, right? And if you add all of the above, basically, all right, you are talking about A, B, C, D, all right? There will be less spending, really less spending. Now, less spending and buying means what? Oversupply, all right? So, people are not, of course, the necessities they need to eat rice, you need to, probably snack a bit, this and that. But other than that, people will not spend. All right? So there will be an oversupply of goods or services. And an oversupply will mean what? It will mean that there's a reduction in production, all right? You remember the issue of the chicken, all right? Because people are not going out to eat, and restaurants are not open, or food stores are not open, So basically, there's a less demand for chicken. So because of that, chicken has become so cheap. So during the MCO period, basically you can buy chicken, 3-4 ringgit, like at a kilo, which is like so cheap. All right, and of course, when there is a reduction in production, yeah, you begin all over again from A, yeah, like loss of business, So this sequence, it is, it is common, and it is always there, when these kind of things happen. Now, how can we survive? Right. So, as I've said just now, let us be prepared for a deep and a long recession. All right. Definitely, it will get worse. It will get worse. All right. If anyone tells you things will get better, it will get worse before it gets better. Yeah. I mean, you can be optimistic about this and that, but let's be realistic. Right. So, and as I've mentioned just now, so what is the secret? What's the key to survival? All right. Before even talking about survival, of course, if you have been following the news from our previous prime minister until the current prime minister, there have been so many government stimulus package, and in fact, there is not enough. There's package 2. There's an extra stimulus package that came out, all right, to help all the various industry, also to help the workers, to help the low-income people. It's also so the government came up with a $250 billion or 250 billion ringgit stimulus package to help cushion the impact of this COVID-19 and also the economic recession. So, despite this, these are still very short term. It is not long term. All right. So it helps, but it will not help you for long. All right. So what is the secret? Right. So the secret is, as I have mentioned just now, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. All right. 129, cash flow. All right. Now, and we must take care of our balance sheet. Yeah, profit and loss is important, but balance sheet is even more important. All right. Assets, your liability, inflow of cash and the outflow of cash. Right. So this is the 4 things that I would go through with all of you. All right. So it may be applicable, it may not be applicable, but in your own areas, in your own business, all right, I think you can actually look into it and what are the expense or what are the things that you can do and that you need to do almost immediately. And some are relatively simple. All right. So number 1, you must reduce and you slow down your cash flow. You must reduce and slow down your outflow of cash. All right. Slow down your outflow of cash. So, for example, expenses. All right. So during the MCO period, a lot of, in fact, most of the office staff, right, or even some company, where you don't exactly, you don't work from, you actually work from home and you don't work in the office, right? So, in fact, in that 1 or 2 months, a lot of companies actually save quite a bit on the utilities, electricity, water, so on and so forth. All right, and a lot of you are actually working from home. But once post MCO, all right, of course, some companies has already announced that they are going to make work from home, as part of the way of work. And in fact, if you look at Facebook and Google, they already announced that they are going to work from home all, the whole of 2020, and they only report for work in 2021, right? So you have no choice but to start looking at expenses, cut down your expenses, all right? Reduce your expenses and slow down, cash outflows, and increase and speed up cash inflows. Oh, sorry. Let me backtrack a bit. So, sorry. The second one is increase and speed up cash flow. Yeah, correct. All right. So increase and you speed up your cash flows. All right. And the third one is you position the business, all right, for a recession environment. You have to be prepared for it. If until now you still think that a recession will not come, hey, where are you? All right? Are you still on planet Earth, or are you still, on dreamland, still dreaming? All right. If you have not done this, please get your business, please get your department, please get your section ready and to be prepared for this recession environment. All right, we'll talk about it, as we go point by point. And the fourth point is we have to be more productive than ever. So this list is not exhaustive. Right? It can be more than this, but basically how I look at it is this 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, at which you need, right, to look at it, right, immediately. And if you have not started looking at it, so reduce and slowing down the outflow of cash. All right. I mean, for those of you who are on a rented office, all right, you reduce your monthly rent. Talk to them. Right. In fact, our government even gave some tax incentive for owners. Your landlord. Right. If they are willing to reduce your rent by 50%, they can get certain tax deduction. But for me, I think you have to be more aggressive. Go and talk to people. Go and talk to your landlords. Go. All right. Anything, for example, leases, this and that. Yeah, you go and talk to them. So and then ask for a discount, at least for the next couple of months, or at least until end of this year, so on and so forth. Get a discount on utilities, yes, for electricity, and yes, there is a 2% discount for industries like us, but probably on other utilities like maybe I'm not sure, internet, telephone, so call your vendors, or competitors, ask what kind of deals, and if you are willing to switch vendors, maybe they can give you even a bigger discount, so you have to look at all these things, and all you have to do is ask, okay, ask for this, right? Remember, you got to be thick-faced, right? This is a crisis that you're talking about. If you don't ask, you won't get it, right? It's as simple as that. You keep your mouth shut, then you won't get anything, right? So it's simple. So once you know how much, right, you can save by this switch or change, all right, then you call the vendors and start talking to them, all right? So these are the little things that you need to do, and then cut all those wasteful discretionary spending, all right? I mean, yeah, it may not be a lot. Things like, for example, newspaper, magazines, all right? So, I mean, I used to have, but basically, yeah, it's not a lot. But when you talk about you're on an austerity drive or you're on cost cutting, so it is better for you to read, I mean, why not for the rest of this year, don't subscribe to newspaper and magazine, for example, all right? Some of companies, they even loan the coffee machine and 400-500 ringgit or 1,000 ringgit kind of thing, where they will provide you with coffee and Milo and this and things like that. So I think these are it's not necessary, not a necessity. So get rid of all those things. All right. So things that for example, but there are certain things that if you have been practicing, all right, then I think which you think can lift the morale of the staff, you can continue. For example, like some companies, they want to maintain the what we call the once a month birthday cake kind of things. That does not cost a lot, but I think you can maintain those, because those are, I would say, it's not wasteful. All right. So these are some of the things that you can cut off, totally. I mean, this, I would say, discretionary. Spend also can, don't spend also can. For example, aircon. You just make a policy. You turn on your aircon when you come into the office. Then you can only turn on. You can come in at 8. But you start turning on your aircon at 9 o'clock. And you turn off your aircon at 5 o'clock. After that, you can open the window, or you can have a fan, and also you set the temperature of your aircon at say 24 degrees Celsius or 25 degrees Celsius consistently. So these are the things that you can help reduce your spending, and this, I would say, wasteful. All right, if you don't control it, lease rather than buy. All right, so if you have forklifts, actually you should consider switching them to leasing instead of buying new ones. All right. Yes, you need cash, as I've said. Cash during a crisis is very important. All right. When you're in trouble, when you do not have cash, you are already in big troubles. All right. So lease if you can. All right. So because if your business runs out of cash, in the next 6 months, all right, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? So delay or reduce, so you don't have to, fork out 120,000 ringgit for a forklift. All right. So, these are things that you can do. All right. So let's look at more affordable options. All right. instead of going for all these very high and expensive things, instead of buying in cash. All right, and number 5 is actually pay all your AP or your payables at a later date. All right, you can actually write to your vendor, write to them, and get better terms. For example, normally they expect you to pay cash. This time, you ask for 15 days or 30 days. For those where they expect you to pay within 30 days, you ask for 40 days or 45 days, instead of 30-day term. So you actually have extra cash, for example, by extending 30 days to 60 days or 30 days to 45 days. All right, so you actually have about 15 days, 30 days cash extra in hand, and that is very crucial for your survival. Don't look down on all these kind of little things, because here a bit, there a bit, you add up, it becomes quite a lot. So the you see, increase and speed up your cash inflows. All right. Uh, for example, I think in terms of collection, all right, um, try to collect earlier. All right, offer discount to your customers. I know a lot of them are not in good shape as well, but maybe some of them will consider. If they pay promptly, that means based on the normal term of 30 days or 45 days that we normally give them. If they are prompt, give them a 1 or 2% discount. That will actually help you. For example, if they can pay 10 days earlier, right, instead of the normal 20 days or 30 days, if they can do it earlier, give them a prompt payment, all right, or early discount, that kind of thing. So these are some of the simple things that you can actually do instead of chasing them and asking for money. Some of them basically will get angry with you. All right, always talk, negotiate, talk, communicate, right? Instead of keeping quiet and keep all the problems to yourself. And at the end of the day, no one knows, So use your negotiation techniques. Sometimes you need persuasion. Sometimes, you use a bit of psychology. Sometimes you use a bit of, how you talk to people. Yeah, still very respectively, still very, but so. And your existing customer during recession, during a economic downfall, is very, very important. Don't fail them. Don't fail any of your deliveries to them. This is very important, right? If you need to do anything well, you need to do it now. Okay? Don't take things for granted. You do it well. All right? You make sure you take care of your existing customers. All right? Don't let them run away, because they will be looking, right? Just like we are talking about our suppliers just now. All right, you are looking for different vendors to compare which is cheaper. Hey, your customer will do the same, right? And especially if you are not the cheapest, for example, like our chips, right? Our potato chips are not the cheapest. We are premium chips, we are good chips, but sometimes during a recession, people don't care, right? So you make sure you deliver in terms of quantity, in terms of orderly delivery, in terms of meeting the order. Right, you have to do this, because this is very, very important. All right. Now, therefore, sometimes people don't even mind, if your service, you can meet their orders, you can deliver on time. Right, a bit expensive as compared to your competitors' pricing, they may still continue on with you because they can see, right, the eagerness in you. Okay. Then the next one, double down on your best customer. All right. So, during the slowdown, all right, most businesses are already doing bad. All right, so and you can actually lose customers. So, but you will have to continue to, tell them, that you appreciate them for their loyalty, for example, and they continue buy from them. So you're so appreciative despite the downfall. They still believe in you. They still, and then. Try to sign a longer period of contract, especially OEM customers. Instead of 1 year, maybe you can sign for 2 years or 3 years, for example. And for the next 1-2 years, it's going to be very bad, right? And yeah, now MCO, right? COVID-19, we cannot really buy them a coffee. Maybe give them a call them, see anything you can do for them. Now I think there is a conditional MCO. Maybe you can call them up for coffee. Maybe, the kind of things you talk to them, discuss your current and your future relationship. So it is, so sometimes I guess, not sometimes, in fact, more. Now everybody uses technology, and you don't, sometimes you don't even call, So use Zoom, use or WebEx, use Microsoft Team, keep them updated on what's going on, especially your overseas customer, and be realistic, and you tell them, yes, you can, and no, if you really can't, but you will try your very best, to deliver to them or produce for them when the time is ready, especially when post MCO. And then, so at least, that they also know that you are concerned about them, and they will be more, in terms of having a softer stand to us. So this is what I mean by double down on your best customers. Really treat them well, So, and then, so yeah, all right. So increasing and speeding up your cash. So you're getting it 10 days earlier, as I said, 30 days earlier. The more cash that you have in hands, it really, really helps. The next one is you've got to start positioning your business for the recession, especially those of you who have not started. All right. Now, how you run a company during good and bad times, it is actually very different. Very, very different. All right. Your spending is different. And why your spending is different, because you must understand consumers may not want to snack so much, because once again, snacks or some of the products that you have may not be it's not a necessity. So you have got a lot of substitute, right? When people have got no money, they will not snack, they will go and buy food. Food is most important, right? So therefore, you have to force your team, you have to force your people, you have to force your company basically to adjust accordingly. You got to force. You can't, if you can cut costs, you cut costs. If you can do this, you just do it. If you can't deliver, then you don't deliver. Yeah, we know there are a lot of issues. There are a lot of issues, right? In terms of human, in terms of time allocated, in terms of this and that. There's so much restriction, especially during the MCO. A lot of restrictions. No raw materials, no packaging, but you got to work a way out. You got to work a way out, right? So, some of the ways that you can, of course, if possible, you lower your inventory cost. Yeah, as low as possible, but at the same time, make sure you're not out of stocks, So you have to be very, very important. Or maybe instead of delivering once a week, you ask to deliver twice a week or 3 times a week, for example. Yes, there may be increase of size of some of your costs, but you don't choke up your warehouse, or you don't where you have this what I call a bottleneck situation, and the production cannot run because you got no more space to store. All right. So these are some of the things, lowering your inventory costs, very, very important. All right. And then make sure you don't keep all those that is, those that is, you always first expired, first out. Remember FAIR theory, right? First expired, first out. You got to deliver that, deliver that, deliver that, deliver that. All right. And then this is probably the time that you revamp your product line. All right, you've got to relook and see, what are the things, because consumer behave differently. And also your marketing campaign. Of course, during the MCO period, right, for our company, I think we spend a lot of time using KOLs and influencers, and we are running a lot of competition online via Facebook, via Instagram, so on and so forth. So these are the things that you can do, right, to remind people of your brand, but at the same time, you need to connect with them, right, with contests, things like that. So you got to look at it, and then, so of course, we are very tempted to slash prices during this period, but sometimes slashing prices, and at at a level where you don't make profit, or you can't cover your cost, then you actually put yourself in a very deep situation. So instead, maybe use marketing channels, to to send out messages, to highlight your the amazing value. I'm not too sure about you, but probably, like in our case, like potato chips, we can talk about the kind of potatoes that we use, the kind of oil that we use, the kind of so these are the things that you need to talk to people, tell people, remind people, and in fact, probably some of them don't even know, so you need to do that. And then look for opportunities to leapfrog, right? Leapfrog competition. So meaning to say, all right, your competitors basically, or rather our competitors, most of them are in the same boat like us, yes, all right, but don't forget, our brand in the hypermarket, we are still number 1, all right, but in convenience shop, maybe we are number 2, so on and so forth. But most of them are also in the same situation. So if you can swing, this is the perfect time to swing, and you can launch a new initiative, right? Right, and to take market share from your rivals. Yes, I know sometimes all this they cost money, so you got to balance it properly, all right? So, and you have to put yourself in a position to accelerate, all right, through the recovery. So now it is the time for you to, up one level, push up your business networking, all right? Attend what you call it, webinars, web seminars, webinars. You go there, you connect, all right, and you get to know people in the same industry or different industry, and this is the time that you do networking. Okay, not only you can get advice from the other business owners, some of them may have experienced much more than you. They have experienced 2 downfall, 2 economic recession, 3 economic recession. So these are the things. Don't spend all your time talking about all those depressing news of how many cases of COVID-19. You talk about gossiping about the political situation or whatever. That is not important for your knowledge. So very important is to share knowledge, talk about what's happening in the industry, talk about the consumer spending, things like that. And the next, so you have to be outstanding. All right, so that's why the rate, right, thumbtack there, you have to be outstanding. Now, the last one, if I want to look at is the in terms of team productivity. Now, during this period when there is a recession, all right, people are often the most labor cost. I'm talking about labor cost, whether it's admin or production, direct or indirect, or support or staff or whatever. But it is normally high, expensive, and especially for companies that depend on outsourced workers, or contract workers, it is very tough, especially foreign workers. Very difficult to get them now. All right. So of course, all right, employees are, especially those production, those who are involved in the direct employees, are also the source, right? And they are very valuable to the business because they are the one that's running production. So, and if you ever look at slashing labor costs, and at the same time you want to boost their productivity, you see, it's not easy, really not easy. So that's why, if there is a need to do it, all right, my only advice is you cut once, cut deep, and you do it sooner rather than later, all right? So because no point cutting a bit here, and then after 3 months, 6 months, you have to do it again, all right? So every time you cut, people get hurt, all right? So, that is the thing that I'm trying to say, all right? Cut deep, cut once, do it sooner rather than later. All right. So give up, even if you need to do, these severance packages like retrenchment packages, or try to give better. Try to give better. All right. So so that if the remaining employees know that you treat those who are going away well enough, in a sense that they will not worry, and everyone will get back to work after that episode is over. It's going to be tough, I know, so it's not easy. All right, so things like before you actually can retrench people, you have to reduce hours, before you even cut down on salaries. This one you have to do because these are compliances. All right, and come on, leaders, all right, head of companies, head of departments, all right. If you want to ever think about cutting salary, cut your own salary, sacrifice your own salary first before you talk about others, because people look at you, all right? It wouldn't matter, all right? You cut people's money, you save, but you don't cut your own, all right? So, so that's why you have to be very, very careful, all right? And get everyone on the same page. Now, very importantly is you have to be very open to your employees. Cultivate the attitude of we are going to go through, we're going to weather this downturn or economic recession together. Go ahead, show them the books, at least an overview, all right, so that they can see the ugly chart of dwindling. Show them, basically there is what I mean is show them the books, means the cash flow situation, the company's situation. Just be open with them, right? Don't be afraid to say that we all need to be 10% more efficient, all right, or 10% more productive, right? Make 10% more and spend 10% less, for example, or else all of us will be without a job in the next 6 months. You have to be as open, very open, Chris, and just including them into this particular problem solving. I know, problem-solving process is often enough to motivate them, to give them the extra effort during this tough time. So, and people understand. Don't underestimate these people. They understand. But if you keep quiet, you try to hide things from them, it's very difficult, then there will always be suspicion. This company is like that. This company never, it is very, very, never think about, what we have done in the past, this and that, So you really got to be, be on the same pitch with them, right? So therefore, during this period, team productivity is very important because everything is short, right? The hours that you can run are short. People that you want, you will always do not have people and resources, but if they are productive, if they are efficient, all right, that makes the difference, right? So as I've said many times, during this kind of or during a recession or an economy downturn, you must keep your business afloat. Keeping your business afloat during the current economic condition is not easy, but it is not impossible. So that's why my summary is talking about keeping afloat. All right. Very importantly, you have to maintain. You have to make sure that you're still floating. Don't sink now. Don't sink. All right. It is very difficult, not easy, I know, but it is not impossible. Have realistic goals. When you sit down, you plan, all right, goals and plan for being in survival mode, perhaps for the next 1 and 2 years, 1 to 2 years. Don't just look short term, 3 months, 6 months. You have to talk about long term, especially talking about the new norm. What is the new norm now? All right, things are not going to be the same as last time. I'm not going to talk about that. Probably I have another time to talk further about the new norm. But what I'm trying to say is that your goals must be realistic. Plan, all right, for the next 1, 2 months, or even 3. For the next 1, 2, or even 3 years. So you have to do that, or else, all right. And then, as I've said again, cut deeper than you think you need to, because it is going to be worse. And if we have to go through this process again and again in the next 6 months, it's going to be very, very tough. So if you look at this, so you need to keep your business afloat, right? However, whatever difficult it is, whatever difficulty that come your way, you do your part, you plan, you get your people involved, and cash flow is so important. All right. Showing your P&L, making a good profit, may not be the thing that will help you, but for now, in terms of cash flow, yes, that will help you a lot. All right. So try your very best. All right. I'm not saying that we are God, but you do your part. Work hard, work smart, and after you've done everything, just pray hard, and I always believe that if you've done your part, God will come in and show you the way. All right. So once again, wish you all the best. All right. Through this period, it's not going to be easy, as I've said, but especially for my BJC food staff, and also the especially the my head of department, all of you. All right. We need to work together. All right. To weather this. Right, to go through this together. It's not going to be easy. All right, we have done relatively well in that sense, right, despite the drop in the revenue and bottom line. But I think you have done well for the last 60 days. But there's going to be a long way. It's going to be a long journey, especially moving forward. All right. So once again, until the next time I meet you in this YouTube. All right. All the best. Have a nice week. All right. Okay, bye.